Hello everyone, so welcome to another episode of Marco Bella. I'm Marco.
And I'm Bella, together with...
I thought you were going to say it then. Anyway, so today we're going to be talking about a topic that's a little bit sensitive. I think for us, it's hilarious and sometimes can get a little bit...
It's painful.
Uncomfortable and leads to further conversation. But anyway, what we're talking about today... Heated discussions, exactly. So what we're talking about today, I don't know about you, but say for example you go to brush your teeth, right? You go to the bathroom and you pick up the toothpaste and you probably squeeze it from the bottom, but then you get there, it's like squeezed from the middle and you're like, but why would anybody, like with their right mind, actually just do that? Why don't they just, you know? But everybody's different. Or, say for example, you take your shoes off when you put them in the shoe rack, right? But then you find that the shoe's just right there by the shoe rack. Not in the rack, by the shoe rack.
Or you find that somebody leaves their shoes by the door, so you trip up over them every time you leave the lounge.
Yeah.
Especially when you're holding the baby.
Exactly. Or say, for example, when you take your t-shirt off, right? Or your PJs to go to bed, or after you've woken up, you fold them neatly and you put them away. And you find that the other person just kind of takes his stuff off and chucks them anywhere, like literally anywhere. So you come and you're like, whoa, what's that? What? What on earth is that doing there? And these are the differences that you will find in marriage, because we are all coming from different backgrounds.
And we all have different standards of living.
Absolutely.
And we all have different expectations of what is a tidy environment.
Mm-hmm. And the idea is finding the best solution of whatever works for that particular situation. So that's what we experienced. So if you remember the last video, we were talking about, the stuff that was sort of working on me.
In couch time.
The video was called Couch Time. Thank you, Bethel. And so in there, we were talking about some of the stresses that were overwhelming me and I was struggling to cope. And one of those was the state of our house. And thankfully, we've got friends and a really good support network around us and they were able to help us. But we're just going to talk you through exactly what happened.
So one of the things that was really, really stressing Mark out was just like the state of the house, because we've had a newborn. And we underestimated how that was going to absolutely blow our minds and change our worlds. And if you're in the same situation, guys,
with your pain,
comment below. How are you managing with a newborn? I met this couple at I went to a party, Micah's party, and I was like, they had like a 12-week-old, and I was like, oh, how is she sleeping? They're like, oh, she's sleeping fine. She's been sleeping through the night since birth.
I don't like you.
I was like, please don't tell people that.
And I know it's not their fault, but bless you.
She was like, yeah. I was like, okay. Moving on swiftly.
Because we're die-hard breastfed kids.
Breastfed babies always make
breastfed babies. But anyway, that's another topic.
That's another topic for another day. However, so since the baby came, everything has shifted.
Because you got so many competing priorities, So it literally looked like, at some point, it looked like somebody come into our house, put our house on a rig, turn it upside down, and just shook it all about.
Yeah, especially in the first 3 months, I would say, I was just focused on feeding that baby, feeding myself, healing, and all that. I wasn't thinking about the house needs tidying, the house needs cleaning. And
I think it's interesting you say that, because for me there was a lot of compensating where you recognise that actually, I can't get full support from Bethan because she's fully committed to actually looking after our newborn, and then all of a sudden it's like, wait, I have to up my game and actually compensate in all these other areas. And that became a little bit overwhelming because Mark, we need each other in order to actually be able to...
Yeah, you tidy anyway.
Run the ship.
You're tidy anyway, but I think what was happening is that because
Did you hear that? I'm tidy anyway.
Yeah.
You know what we were talking about at the beginning? There we go.
He's the neat freak in the house. But anyway, he's tidy anyway, but I think we're like... I'm not tidy per se, but I would tidy up before I had Rhea. But then once the baby came, I was like,
to be fair, you did make significant effort, considerable effort to do that. So
yeah,
a little trophy for Bethel.
For his sake, which you have to compromise.
For my sake! Oh my goodness.
No, it's just certain things that would affect Mark wouldn't
That's
affect
like somebody
me.
say, I brush my teeth because I'm going to the dentist. No, you brush your teeth for your own health.
No, but it's because certain things that wouldn't affect me would affect you.
Oh, that's true.
Because we all have different standards.
Talking about the article.
Yeah, exactly. So when we elicited your help, our friends got back to us. Some emailed, some texted, not emailed, texted. Some texted us and some phoned us. Yeah. So one text message that came through was about an article on Headspace.
And that was a really good article, by the way.
Yeah.
Headspace, get it? Headspace.
and we'll put the link in the description below. And it was talking about how men think differently to women, and it was saying that actually when you're in a cluttered space, your brain wants to make sense of everything.
So for me, when I go into a room, everything I see is information I'm processing. I know that sounds like, well, obvious for everybody processes information, but if it's a space that you're trying to work in, for me, I take note of everything that's there. And so before I can actually do any work, if there's like pens, pencils, stuff lying around, that's information that's been fed to my brain. And until I can isolate everything, you know, it's difficult to actually work in that space.
Whereas for me, being a woman, which Archie also talks about, we're used to like multitasking and also like compartmentalizing.
Yeah.
And so actually I could be like, yes, the lounge is messy, but do you know what? I'm not going to think about the messy lounge today. I'm going to think about the laundry that needs doing.
And actually close that box and just shove it away somewhere in a secret compartment in a brain.
Exactly.
And just be like, yeah, that's fine.
I'll deal with that
another day.
when I have the time. So Mark was like overcompensating now because he was like, okay, the house needs to be tidy, tidy the lounge, tidy this.
Ah, it's messy again. What happened?
Exactly. Then I was also feeling overwhelmed by that. I was actually feeling overwhelmed by that because I was like, this is getting too much for me to bear, because I am trying to focus on the things that are important right now, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, like surviving after having a baby.
Food.
You know, like feeding myself, feeding
Shelter.
the baby. All that kind of
as
stuff.
long as she was in a space where she was safe.
Safe. I was thinking about safety.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah. Anywho, long story short, our friends called us and we had a session. We had a counselling session. We're like, guys.
Sorry, I'm laughing because you just reminded me one. Sorry, just remember where you are. Totally random, but we were doing this earlier. We were jabbing each other. We were just, you know, making remarks about who does what. And then you just reminded me. So imagine I just have dinner, right? I've just had my dinner. This is yummy. Oh, great. Thank you so much for cooking that. Just stand up and walk up to the room. It's like, wait, did you just leave your plate on the table? But who's going to clear that up?
You know what? That actually was a very bad habit of mine. But sometimes, I know it sounds ridiculous, sometimes it actually just goes out of my mind. Because let's say, for example, if I've eaten and then Micah starts crying or something in the lounge, I just automatically go and deal with the issue at hand. And then I forgot completely that I left the plate on the table.
So I'm like, oh, let me go journal in the key. Oh, okay.
And
wait,
then
is that a
clean
plate?
up.
Huh?
But then I'd say to him, like, if you clean it up, in my mind, because I've already forgotten about it, it's like it's already dealt with.
In the box.
So I never know that I've left my plate there, really. That's the truth.
That's true.
And
so we were struggling at that point. It was really difficult because, you know, overcompensating.
Like, what do we do?
Yeah, what do we do?
Guys, this is after 12 years of marriage. So for those of you who are newlyweds, just getting into it and that kind of stuff, I hope that this can help you. It might prevent some heated discussions about this.
Toothpaste!
There's a skit about
I know, there's actually a skit about toothpaste. We'll put a link in the, yeah.
So yeah, our friends counselled us. At first we were just kind of going...
Thank you to all of our friends.
Yeah, we were going head to head, weren't we? We were like, but Mark does this and Bethel does this and I wish that they would just do this. And they're like, okay guys, it sounds like...
I was going to say, even that book didn't help, you know, the Who Moved My Cheese.
We should have
in terms of a lot of things actually changed, and we were quite open about, you know, what would change, but how to actually manage the situation.
Yeah, exactly.
A completely different experience, and so this is where they came into play.
So our friends basically came and gave us this great advice. They said, guys, the enemy's just going to come into your marriage and try to break you up over some silly, messy house. When honestly, there is ways to actually get around
silly? Silly and messy? Silly? It's not silly.
So our friend said, we have a similar situation. My partner's messy, I'm OCD. So this is how we deal with it.
I'm not OCD.
No, you're not OCD, but that was the situation for them.
Okay.
And yeah, so they said, well, what we have in our house is tidy zones. Like, what? Tell us more about this. Tell us about this.
Tell me more. Hey, Tony, tell me more.
What do you mean?
Yeah, tell me more.
Because one thing, I was getting really frustrated that Mark wanted every room in the house to be tidy, and I was like, I can't keep up with that. There's too many rooms in this house.
I think the only reason for that is because there wasn't a space which was dedicated to, okay, if I go into this space, it's going to be tidy. Everywhere was just the same.
Yeah, but then that's because also as well, you were choosing to work in different spaces of the house on different days. I didn't work anywhere. Which means we couldn't isolate a room, because you'd be like, I'm working in the office, I'm working in the lounge, I'm working in the kitchen. So actually that's difficult, because you're moving around. That's the thing, working from home sometimes, it's quite stressful. But
people go, yes, I can work from home now. Sorry.
So yeah, so we're like, okay, tell us more about these tidy zones, because I feel like every single room in this house has to be a tidy zone. So they said they agreed on specific rooms in the house that had to be tidy. And for them, it was the living room and the kitchen and the downstairs spaces, because that's where visitors would come. So the upstairs spaces could stay as they were until Saturday, which was the cleaning day. And then they'll clean it together as a family and it will be sorted. But during the week, no one was going to make, a noise about the messy spaces upstairs. I was like, oh my days. This could be life.
This could be life. But they were like, yes, I finally get to just be free.
No, but it was like, actually, instead of me thinking, I've got to clean the lounge, I've got to clean the kitchen.
I think you were trying to conquer Mount Everest.
It was like I was trying to do everything. And it was too much.
All that was needed was literally just, I don't know, sorting out a tiny little mound.
Exactly.
That was,
agree on tidy zones. Yeah. So we agreed that the lounge and the kitchen, and basically the downstairs,
the office,
we also agreed, the office as well. Yeah, the office would be tidy zones. And so the rest of the house, whatever, until that cleaning day, we're not going to talk about it. We're not going to argue about it. We're not going to even acknowledge it. We're just going to focus on the tidy zones, because right now we just need to compartmentalize and focus on that. So Mark has a space that he can go into that's tidy all the time.
I had to buy some blinkers, the horse blinkers. Yeah, just walk around like I can't see anything.
Or just go into a tidy zone.
Or just turn the lights off and just go, feeling around like, oh.
Guys,
okay, that's what I'm after.
When we talk about messy, guys, I mean, you might be thinking our house is a total disaster. But
no, it's not
even
a mess.
Really not. Yeah. But for Mark, it's mess. That's the thing. Standards of living are different. So, like, if a jacket or shoes are there, that's mess for Mark. It's like, oh my gosh, whoa, Yeah. So, right now, what has been happening is that the lounge or the kitchen, for example, before I go to bed, I'm like, oh, do you know what? Let me spare 5 minutes to make sure that the tidy zone is tidy. So I'll pick up a few things, tidy up the cushions, and it's done. Kitchen, same thing. I'll be like, oh, do you know what? I can just load the dishwasher, wipe the tabletops, and it's done. So actually, in my brain, I'm not thinking, oh my gosh, the whole house is messy.
And I guess the question is, has that made a difference then?
Of course it has. It's made a huge difference. Because number one, I'm not hearing it from you 24/7.
I'm not hearing it from you. Oh, what? 24/7?
No, literally, like before it was literally all the time. And then also, I feel like I can achieve something. Because at that time I was just feeling like, oh my gosh, I'm not doing like my wifely duties.
And I think it's great because now I can actually just, have my dinner and then turn the other side of the table and be like, oh, there's no plate sort of sitting there to say, are you going to take me to the counter, please? Or to the sink? Bethel's binging me.
Yeah. But that's what for me. Honestly, it's taken a load of Mark, but it's also taken a load of me because there was a lot of pressure, and I was feeling like, am I, like I'm not good enough, or I'm not able to meet the standard of his.
I think we have to talk about that because I wonder where that comes from.
Feeling like not good enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm not meeting your standard, and I'm like, okay, is this normal? But actually, what that couple explained is that you do have different standards, and what's normal for me is not normal for Mark, and it's about finding that happy space where it's like, okay, we agree.
Imagine that 12 years later.
Imagine that, right? But there was this funny story that couple.
They twain shall become one flesh.
Regardless.
Glory! That's a Kaiji digs, right?
There's one story that they shared with us about the underwear.
That was interesting. A great lesson, actually.
This has never happened to me, by the way, and I am so grateful that Mark is tidy. Because, they always say when you're about to get married, oh, your husband might throw his underwear everywhere, they might throw his socks everywhere, he might throw his clothes everywhere. That has never happened.
It's actually the opposite. Half the time I'm tripping over stuff. Going in slow motion to the bathroom.
I don't throw it everywhere. I just have my nice pile by the side of the bed, which he doesn't like.
It's a random pile. I mean...
Oh yeah, she talked about drop zones. We need to actually get something for me to put my stuff in.
Well, go and tell them the story then, because that was really interesting.
Yeah, so anywho, the husband just was like dropping stuff everywhere. All the boxes and all that everywhere. And so she was like, I don't know what to do. So she asked one of the sisters.
Every time she used to get mad at him and she'd try and be like, why don't you sort this out? Why don't you put the stuff in there? Da, da, da.
And he wouldn't like... So then she asked the sister from church, and she's like, so what do I do? She's like, okay, what you got to do is just leave it. Don't say anything, right? And then when it comes time to wash the clothes that are in the basket. And then when he asks you, oh, honey, I've run out of boxes, you say, I washed everything that was in the basket.
And just leave it there and just carry on.
So she said, okay.
Light bulb moment.
Really grit her teeth every time. She went, oh, it's okay. Wait for it. So 3 weeks passed, right? Until he ran out of all his boxes. And then he said, honey, have you seen any of my boxes? And she said, I washed everything that was in the basket. Bing!
With a smile on her face.
He got it after that. Apparently he's never done that again.
If you're watching, bro, love. Because I know you're watching this and you're listening. How dare you talk about me? At least nobody knows who you are.
Anonymous. But honestly, it really has helped. And guys, those tips have helped us. You know, if you're going through something like that, rather than fighting about it, try different approaches. Try the tidy zones.
I think it's easier said than done. You know, because even after they gave us the advice of, you know, the zones, mentally I had to go through some kind of a shift, you know, to just get to a place where even that was acceptable. And I think it's, again, comes back to the idea of like maybe compromise to some extent, you know, and just being aware of the season that you're in, so, and being patient.
Exactly.
Marriage 101. Anyway, thank you for watching. See you again in the next one.